Already. How good is that? We've only got tomorrow, which is the question and answers about all the things that I've been talking about. So if you've got any questions, then feel free to pop them somewhere. And I'm saying somewhere because am I going live? I'm not sure if I'm going live. Feel free to pop the questions anywhere because I'm going live on lots of different places. So it depends where you're actually watching, whether you're watching on YouTube. If you're not on my YouTube channel, then pop over and I can't see if I'm going live. I think I am. Pop over and subscribe so you get to see all the videos. I'm starting doing a Living Life Being Human show live over on YouTube at 7:30 every Thursday. So I've done lives Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week at 8:30. The one tomorrow is going to be at 7:30 and it's going to be streamed like this one is live in my YouTube channel. And the recording from that I'm going to use for my podcast because I have a Living Life Being Human podcast as well. So I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone. So that's what the plan is. Subscribe and tick the belly thing or whatever it is on there so that you get notified if I do anything. If you're watching this on my Facebook channel, then you can comment underneath the video so that I get any questions that you've got. I've got a couple of questions, well, quite a few actually, that I can answer tomorrow, which is good. So thank you for those that have asked questions. And if you haven't, then feel free to do so. Monday we talked about knowing yourself, which I think is a good foundation for all of this, because in order to trust yourself and love yourself, which is what today's topic is, you've got to kind of know yourself first. Loving yourself is one of those interesting ones. Some people think that when you love yourself, you're kind of a bit up yourself and constantly looking in the mirror and taking pictures of yourself and doing all those sorts of things. That's not what I'm talking about tonight. When I talk about loving yourself, it's about first knowing yourself, knowing all your little quirks and things that you do or not do, and making peace with them in a way, and trusting yourself. Even when you make wrong decisions, you can still trust yourself, because in that moment I believe that we all make the best decisions that we can with what we've got available in that moment, because none of us are intentionally going to make mistakes or intentionally pick the wrong thing. We do it with the best of intentions. So today is all about loving yourself, and what does that mean? I said I was going to talk a little bit about the 3 principles tonight, which is something that I use in therapy all the time. I'm trained in transactional analysis, and I also use the 3 principles in coaching because I just love it. So it's a bit of a love fest tonight. I'm talking about lots of things that I love. The 3 principles was brought about by a chap called Sydney Banks, who was a Scottish welder. I think it was in the 1970s. He had a bit of an epiphany. That our thoughts create our feelings 100% of the time. And the 3 principles are based on 3 things, which is thought, consciousness and mind. Sometimes it can be seen as a bit woo-woo, but I quite like it. The more we look at science these days, because we've got lots of ways that we can look at science, we're all made up of the same thing. We're all made up of atoms and energy. The table that's here, the screen that I'm looking at, the trees, the oceans, whatever you want to look at, it's all made up of atoms and energy, and so are we. So we're all kind of the same thing. So I see mind as it's something bigger than us, whatever it is, whether you're talking about religion or spirituality or Mother Nature or whatever it is. There's something out there that's bigger than us that we are a part of. And I find that quite comforting because I kind of think that I'm just a little part of something bigger. And sometimes it's comforting to think that there's something bigger than us that's working in the background that we don't need to worry about. It's kind of like gravity. I don't worry that I'm going to fall off the end of the earth. I just know that gravity's there and it's keeping me stuck to the ground. Same as the 3 principles and there being a bigger being than us that's kind of guiding us to where we need to go if we don't get in the way, which is the big problem with a lot of this, is we tend to get in the way of it. I think I spoke about this. I might not have done. Animals don't think about their thoughts. They haven't got the ability to think about their thoughts. They just react to whatever it is that's in front of them when they need to, and then they let it go and that's it. Human beings are one of the few creatures, might be the only creatures, that actually think about our thoughts. We overthink our thoughts all the time. So the thoughts that you might have running through your head tonight might be the same thought that you had last week or last month or yesterday or 5 minutes ago. It's the same stuff that comes up a lot of the time for us. But when we start to know ourselves and trust ourselves and begin to love that part of us, we can be more compassionate with it. If we feel anxious or depressed or angry or all the kind of feelings that we associate with negativity, it's not about beating yourself up for having those thoughts and those feelings. It's about being compassionate, because it's not something that we intentionally do. You know, I don't think anybody intentionally wants to make themselves feel rubbish. There's a reason for it. So it's about you understanding that and being compassionate with the way that our mind works and the way that our life runs sometimes. You know, give yourself a bit of a break. So I'm going to start clicking on my little things again because I've been busy again. Compassion for yourself, not just everyone else. I think we're really quite good at being compassionate with everybody else. You know, if you've got a work colleague that's having it, a bit rough at home, or your boss is giving them a bit of grief or whatever, we find it really easy to be compassionate with other people. But yet when we're going through something or we're finding it tough, we're not really good at being compassionate with ourselves. We'll either kind of give ourselves a bit of a nudge or a kick up the butt and, get a grip and sort yourself out. Or we just ignore the fact that we've got stuff going on in our life and expect us, to just be okay with it all. It's okay to give yourself a bit of love and to be compassionate with yourself, just like you would anybody else. There was something, I think it was an advert for Dove soap. God, it must be going back 4 or 5 years ago now, where, actors were reading out some of the thoughts that they had out loud in a cafe, and people were getting up and having a go at them for talking out loud about those sort of things. That, God, you're rubbish at this, you're hopeless, you can't get anything right. I don't even know why you bothered coming in here, because you can't even pick a cup of coffee or whatever it is. And that's the internal dialogue that's going on inside of us the majority of time. We wouldn't dream of saying that to somebody else. The stuff that we criticise ourselves for or judge ourselves for, or the guilt and the shame that we carry around, we wouldn't expect anybody else to do that. So I want to give you permission to not to do that to yourself. It's okay to blow your own trumpet. It's okay to celebrate your successes. It doesn't mean that the earth will open up and you'll fall down it or anything. It doesn't mean that you're big-headed. Is that a British thing? I'm not sure. That there's something always rumbling in the background with me with things like that, about that precocious little kid. But it's okay. You're not a precocious little kid by, celebrating your own successes and your own wins. When you achieve something, it's okay to let people know that you've done good. So that's the first thing. The second one, honouring your needs by knowing what they are. What do I mean by that? We all have needs, whatever they are. Is a need an urge or not? I don't know. But it's okay to work out what your needs are. When you're feeling, a bit down in the dumps, what is it that you need from yourself and the people around you? Is it that you want somebody to kind of just be empathic towards you? Do you need a hug? Do you need somebody to just take the reins and, kind of direct you in what you need to do? We've got to work out what that is first before we can ask for our needs to be met, which is why the first day of this was getting to know yourself. For me, the worst thing for anybody can do when I'm feeling emotional is to actually give me a hug or to make contact with me in any way, shape or form. With my family, when I'm going through something, probably the first words that come out of my mouth is, don't be nice to me, but... and then I'll tell them what's going on. Because if they show me any compassion, consideration or anything like that, the floodgates will open and that will be that. It's okay if it does. I just find it difficult sometimes to allow people to show me kindness when I've got stuff going on, which is a ridiculous thing. That's the one time that we do need kindness, is when we're going through something. We want people to be empathic and understand that maybe, you know, we've not got our shizzle together 100% of the time, and give us support when we need it. But for some of us, that can be quite difficult. That's something else that I know about myself, and I've kind of made peace with it now. There are some days when I'm okay to be vulnerable, when my state of mind is in a good place, and I kind of know actually it's okay for me to be vulnerable at times, and I can ask for people to help me out and support me. That's okay. It doesn't mean I've failed. It doesn't mean I'm a needy, whiny kid or anything. It just means that at times I need people to give me support. So I kind of want to give you permission to work out some of this, to get to know yourself a little bit better, so that you know what it is that you need when you need it too. It's okay to say no and to set boundaries. This again can be quite a difficult one. I touched a little bit earlier on in the week about driver behaviours. One of our driver behaviours is to be strong or be perfect, and also please others. If you're a people pleaser, it's really hard to say no to people. You know, if you've had a really bad day at work and you just can't be bothered, you're curled up, you're watching soaps on the television, you've got a nice cup of tea and a snuggly blanket around you, and then the phone rings and somebody wants something and you think, oh, here we go. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to people if you think that they're taking advantage of you or manipulating the situation. It doesn't mean you're not a nice person if you've got your own boundaries around what's acceptable and what's not, particularly around relationships and you know, things like that. In a work situation, putting work before family. You know, if something happens and you have to let somebody down because your boss has said that you've got to work overtime, I'm not saying say no to your boss a lot of the time, but it's okay for you to be aware of your boundaries and what are they. Who are the people that you are kind of okay with saying no to, and who are the people that you feel like there's not a cat and hell's chance that you will ever say no to them? It might be a parent, it might be a partner, it might be your kids. You might feel, you know, guilt-ridden if your children ask you for something and you say no. What's that about? Is it because you feel like you're a bad parent, or are you trying to compensate for not being able to spend time with them? So, you know, if they want money, you give them money. It's okay. I'm not saying that we need to judge each other for this. It's just about knowing what your own boundaries are, because when we know what they are, then we can do something with it. They might need shifting. For me, I was, you know, a huge people pleaser. I would bend over backwards to do everything for everybody, and it was hard work. I was exhausted a lot of the time. And even now it can be difficult for me to say no to people. If I can, I will do anything for anybody. But there comes a point where it's starting to impact on me, my self-care and my own mental health. And I need to just say no. Even though it's my job, and it's not a 9-to-5 job. I work for myself, so I'm pretty much on call 24/7. But there are times where I need to just step back from that, just to regroup, just to take a bit of time for me. You know, particularly if my mental health isn't in the best place, I'm not going to be any use to myself, my family or my clients unless I start to take care of myself. And that's part of loving yourself. So again, you know, don't feel bad if you need to put some boundaries in place or say no. Don't compare yourself to others. This is a big one for some people. It's part of us growing up. It is part of our development. We do compare ourselves to others. If we look at things psychologically, I think it's kind of between the ages of 6 and 12 that we first start to compare and contrast ourselves. If you've got kids, you might know, you know, between that age, they want the coat the same as what the best friend is, and you know they want to have the same shoes and go to the same places and things like that. We want to belong, so we do start to compare and contrast. We kind of go with like-minded people or people that like the same thing as us. So it's really difficult sometimes as adults to not compare ourselves to others. There's always going to be that person on Facebook that lives the perfect life, or so we think, because none of us know what happens behind closed doors. And, you know, we are unique. You can compare yourself to other people as much as you want, but no two people are the same. Even identical twins will probably have a different way of thinking about things. They might look the same. They might even have, very similar DNA. But their thought processes and the way that they work through things in life and the decisions that they make are not going to be exactly the same. I know I've spoke about me and my sister. Same family, same upbringing, everything. But we're not similar to each other at all. I'm not even sure where this next one's going to come up. It's come up behind this one. I'll just shift that one out of the way. I've got too many slides up here. I'm going to get rid of some of these. So the next one is, bear with me because I'm getting rid of that. Be honest with yourself. Have I done that one? Yes, this is the one I'm doing. Technology is not my strong point, in case you haven't noticed. I do all of this so I look professional, and then I get it wrong and it doesn't look professional at all. Be honest with yourself. Again, going back to Monday, that was the whole point of doing the knowing yourself, because until we know ourselves, we can't be honest about the way that we're thinking and feeling. And a lot of this stuff is done out of our awareness. It's not that we make a conscious effort to overthink everything. It's not that we make a conscious effort to think negatively. It's all done subconsciously without much thought going into it at all, if that makes sense. So in order to be honest with yourself and be authentic, you've got to kind of know who you are. I'm in my mid-50s and I'm still learning who I am in certain situations. Sometimes I shock myself by my reactions to things and whoa, where did that one come from? But I'm open to being curious about it. What was it about that situation that, I felt this way about it, or I've got certain thoughts about it? And I don't know if you've kind of clicked onto this the more that you're listening to me, but I don't tend to take myself very seriously at all. If I make a mistake, I'm the first one to hold my hands up and say, yeah, sorry, got that one wrong. It's very rare that I'm negative with myself for any length of time. I might have that fleeting thought like we all do, but I don't make it into a thing. I just think, yeah, that was a bit of a bad decision. I was just going to say then, because I refer to this quite a lot with my members in the membership club and probably clients as well. There's two versions of me. There's Genius Jackie and there's Numpty Jackie. When Numpty Jackie shows up, she doesn't make the best decisions whatsoever. She's pretty tough on herself. She criticises herself a lot, and decision making when Numpty Jackie is in charge is not a good idea. But I'm okay with that. I know when I'm in that place now, so I don't stay in it for that long. I know not to make decisions when, my state of mind is in a low place. That might be because I'm tired. It might be because I've been working too hard. It might be because, I don't know, something's happened that's out of my control and I'm struggling with it. Whatever it is. But I don't beat myself up over it. I kind of let it happen. Don't fight it, whatever feelings are going on for me. And then it passes and then I can carry on. And Genius Jackie shows up every now and then, which is brilliant. When the decision making just flows, everything is fantastic and life is wonderful. And we've all got those two versions of us when we're kind of in a low place and when everything is just flowing. And it's okay to accept that. So I'm quite good at being honest with myself. The next one, it's okay to make mistakes and don't be critical. I've just said that. When Numpty Jackie shows up, there are a lot of mistakes. Even with my kids, I was one of those parents that, if I got something wrong, I was okay apologising to them. I'm quite happy for my kids to know that I'm not perfect, as if they ever thought I was. But I'm fallible just like anybody else. I can make mistakes. And my kids are getting older now. My eldest is 34. And, sometimes the tables are turned. I learn something new from my kids every day. It's not that I've got all the answers. I haven't. And it's good. It's an exchange of information now, rather than me being in charge of them and having to control their behaviour. They're quite capable of controlling it themselves. So it's took a bit of pressure off me. And we have some really in-depth conversations. We have a laugh and it's okay. I've never criticise them for making mistakes either. We all make mistakes. We take jobs on that maybe we shouldn't do, but we learn from our mistakes. I don't think there's any adult in this world that will criticise a child for giving something a go. It's one of the things we all say. You know, the first time that they're trying to do a roly-poly or anything, we don't expect them to get it right first time, but yet often we do that with ourselves, which goes back to the compassion part at the beginning of this. You know, give yourself a bit of a break sometimes. If it's the first time you're trying something, whether that's making a change, doing something different, trying to go from negative thinking to positive thinking, you're going to slip back into it. But give yourself a bit of a break. Give yourself a pat on the back for trying to do something different and do something new. Practice gratitude and shifting your mindset. I fed into that one quite well then. Didn't even know that one was the next one coming up. I love gratitude and positivity and happiness. And, you know, I'm going to say try, but I don't really like using that word. But I try to practice gratitude and, you know, have a positive mindset wherever I can. There's always something positive that we can focus on, even in the midst of what seems like a catastrophe. There will be something that we can look at that's positive. And starting to shift that mindset, it takes time. I'm not going to say it happens overnight, but our brain is plastic. It's, you know, neuroplasticity is alive and well and kicking in all of us. So we can start to change the way that we think about things. The more we practice gratitude, mindfulness, and having, you know, a positive mindset, the more we actually change how our brain functions and, you know, the neurons that are firing together, and it becomes easier. But to go from a negative place to a positive place takes some effort. It's kind of like, I see it as like having overdrive on your car. You can't take your hands off the steering wheel when you're trying to make a change. You've got to consciously be pointing in that direction. Otherwise, we just veer back off down the same path and then wonder why nothing changes. So practice gratitude for yourself and for others around you and the things that you're grateful for in your life. I don't want to talk doom and gloom, but to be fair, there's a lot of rubbishy things that have been going on in the world and are still going on in the world. And, you know, if you're sitting here watching this, we've all got an awful lot to be grateful for. Feel your feelings. The more you do this, the less they stick around. This again is kind of a 3 principles thing, that feelings are transient, just like our thoughts. They come and go. Our feelings and our thoughts stick around when we fight it, when we try to get rid of them, when we don't accept that we're feeling a certain way. If we just feel our feelings, nothing bad will happen. They will just pass and they will go. I'm not sure if it's ever happened, but, you know, if you're having a feeling, whether it's anxiety or stress or whatever it is, and the phone rings or somebody knocks at the door, that feeling will go in an instant. You might pick it up later on when you've answered the door and realised it's just a delivery or whatever. You might kind of go, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was feeling X, Y and Z. But understanding that a feeling is a response to a thought that we've had, and that thoughts aren't real. They aren't real. A thought is something that doesn't have a form. It's, you know, it's not a thing until we bring it to life. And the more we try to get rid of it, the more we try to work out why I'm feeling this way, then we start to build up a story around it and it becomes a bigger thing. But to just be okay with whatever you're feeling and letting it go, it's a much healthier way to be. Stress is not good for any of us. All those stressy hormones going through our bodies are not very good at all. No blame or shame. I like this. Talk kindly to yourself. That inner dialogue again, that you know, critical self-talk that sometimes we can have, where we blame ourselves for everything. I was so good at taking responsibility for everything that was going on around me. And it's quite disempowering for other people when I'm just taking all the responsibility on me for whatever is going on out there. If if my car broke down and I was giving somebody a lift, I would take on that responsibility, that it was my fault that the car broke down, and it was my fault that I hadn't checked the water in it or the oil, which I still don't know where they go. But it was just all my responsibility. So it's quite exhausting, and it's also disempowering for the other person. They had a choice whether I gave them a lift or not. It's not all on one person. We all, need to realise that we're not the one that's responsible for everything that's going on around us. We play a part, all of us play a part, but we're not fully responsible for it. In every communication that we have, I believe that it's 50-50. It's 50% my responsibility and it's 50% the other person's responsibility. So in relationships, if one person is 100% in that relationship and 100% devoted to that other person, unless that other person is going to come into that relationship at some point, it's not going to work. We can't take on the full responsibility of anything. So then, we're not to blame for everything. And, sometimes that's how it feels. So talk kindly to yourself. It goes back to the compassion and the gratitude and things like that. So all these things are connected. All these things are a way of actually, showing love to yourself. And if we love ourselves, then we can love other people. So it's a win-win situation. It's okay to stand up for yourself. This, again, if you're a people pleaser, is a bit of a difficult one. If somebody's pushing your boundaries or, smashing through your boundaries, it's okay for you to stand up for yourself. I'm not saying be aggressive. I'm not saying, have a go at anybody and everybody that happens to come in your personal space. And there's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive. It's okay for you to stand up for yourself, and it's okay for you to say, actually, I'm feeling a bit, intimidated by this, or actually I'm feeling, a little bit vulnerable right now and I'd like to just stop it. It's absolutely fine for you to be saying that. It is part of loving yourself and taking care of yourself. And I think this one's the last one. Not everyone will like you, and that's okay. This was a hard lesson to learn because I do like people liking me. But not everybody's going to like me. It's impossible for me to, ensure that everybody that I come into contact likes me. I do my utmost. I'm not offensive to people on purpose, but people might have a different opinion to me. We might disagree on certain things, and that's okay. And other people's opinion of me are none of my business. Going back to what I've spoke about over the last couple of days, in a relationship and a communication, we're all bringing our own past into it. When I'm having a conversation with somebody, they've got their past in the room, I've got my past in the room, and sometimes it's like pea soup in the middle and there's just a mixture of things going on. It's not personal, and we're all unique and individual, and I would like people to just celebrate that. I love quirky people. I love people that don't have a filter sometimes. I know quite a few people that don't literally have a filter, and the thought rattles round in their head and it comes straight out. And I find that quite refreshing. So I want to just give you permission to love yourself, to show gratitude, to be compassionate with yourself, to practice self-care. The best way that we can build our self-esteem and our self-worth is by showing ourselves love and compassion, being grateful for the things that we have and, the people that are around us. And the more we focus on that positive mindset, the easier it becomes. And even when something out of the blue comes that maybe isn't the best situation to be in, we will handle it better if we've got a positive mindset. We will handle it better if we're, looking for gratitude and practicing gratitude. If we're compassionate with ourselves and other people. If you're going down the motorway and somebody cuts you up, you've got a choice. We've all got a choice on how we deal with that. You can look at it as they did that on purpose, they're out to get me, sort of thing. Or you can say, geez, they're in a hurry, I hope everything's okay and they're not, somebody hasn't had an accident and they've got to get there quickly. Or none of us know what's going on. People say that, life is like a snapshot on a camera, but we can change the focus on that camera. We can look at the picture from a different point of view. We can look at it sideways on or frontways on. And the more we explore this and the more we get used to just stepping out of the situation and being an observer and looking at what's actually going on, that's how we practice a positive mindset. That's how we practice gratitude for ourselves and everybody else. So I've waffled on for quite a long time, so I'm going to finish it here. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you've been watching these, and if you've got any topics that you want me to discuss, then feel free to do that. Check out the platform, which is livinglifebeinghuman.com, and the platform is on there. You can register, just sign up, and it's absolutely free. My membership is open if you want to join the membership. I will be talking a little bit more about this tomorrow when I'm doing the question and answers. But it's open. You can check that out. You can look at all the things that you get if you are part of the membership, and come and join us, because we're a lovely bunch of people that are in there. It's all support based on therapeutic principles. Lots of things like this: positivity, gratitude. There's some courses in there that you get as soon as you join. There's a couple of ebooks in there around positivity and gratitude mindset. What else is there? There's quite a few things in there. There's a couple of audios, relaxation bits in there, and there's going to be a lot more coming up soon. I'm working on getting an app, but I'm not doing it just yet. But I'm planning on getting an app so that people can access things on the phone as well. Right, I'm going to go now. I will be back at 7:30 tomorrow. It's an hour earlier, and I will be answering the questions that people have asked. If you've got anything, just post it, or you can email me, jackie@jackiejones.co.uk, and I will answer them all tomorrow. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.